Meetings this morning. You're very welcome, and warm welcome to the members of the committee that are here this morning. So if we're content, we'll get stuck into the agenda as follows. So apologies, I don't think we have any apologies. Everybody's here. Declaration of members' interests. I remind you that you're obliged to declare any relevant finance or other interests before taking part in relevant committee proceedings. So, does any member have any interest to declare this morning? Negative, thank you.
Chair.
Sorry,
just under correspondence from PAC. I also sit in PAC, just to declare that.
Okay, thank you for that. So, refer members to the draft minutes of the meeting held on the 14th of May 2025, which are on page 6 of the meeting pack, and advise you that the committee previously delegated authority to myself to agree the minutes in order to publish a committee report with associated minutes on the 14th of May 2025. The minutes of 14th of May 2025 are therefore just for noting. And are you all content then to note those minutes? Thank you. Okay, I just sign them accordingly. Thank you. So, matters arising, I just refer you to Secretariat memo on the Assembly Members Remuneration Board Bill at page 12. Correspondence from the Clerk to the Ad Hoc Committee on Assembly Members Remuneration Board Bill at page 14. Correspondence from the Assembly Commission to the Ad Hoc Committee at page 15, and correspondence to the committee from the Assembly Commission at page 17. So I'd like to invite the clerk now to brief the committee.
Okay, so correspondence relates to the Assembly Members Remuneration Board Bill and scrutiny of delegated powers. First, to clarify that while the bill is well through its various stages in the Assembly, there's no urgency in settling and finalising agreements for scrutiny of delegated powers coming out of it, as those aren't actually on the face of the bill. So just to make that point before I take you through the paper. So the bill was introduced in the Assembly by the Assembly Commission in February, and it's now to be scheduled for further consideration stage. Clause 4 of the bill includes a delegated power in relation to the appointment of temporary members to the Remuneration Board. Such appointments would be made via what's called a draft affirmative resolution, SR, and would be subject to scrutiny by a committee under Standing Order 43(1)(b). The ad hoc committee that had been set up to scrutinise the bill asked the Assembly Commission to confirm which Assembly committee would have the responsibility for scrutiny of an SR. And the Commission considered that the Audit Committee could undertake this function as it has an existing role regarding the Assembly Commission's responsibilities. The committee may consider that logic is sound and that it would be content to carry out the proposed scrutiny role if it was required, but it's important to ensure that it does have the powers to do that. Having a look at section 43 of Assembly Standing Orders, this deals with scrutiny of statutory rules. It states that every statutory rule or draft statutory rule will stand referred to the appropriate committee for scrutiny. This is, however, clarified in 43(8), which states that committee means statutory committee. So members be aware that the Audit Committee is a standing committee, not a statutory committee. The Secretariat paper proposes the next step of seeking legal advice, but since we issued the papers, I've been able to find out some further information. So I can confirm that it is simply the case that Assembly Standing Orders doesn't allow for Audit to scrutinise SRs as they're drafted at the moment. Secondly, it seems that the Executive Office Committee, which is a statutory committee, has scrutinised the Assembly Commission secondary legislation in the past. It scrutinised the Salaries Public Service Ombudsman Order 2022. So, Chair, an appropriate next step, instead of seeking legal advice, might be to write to the Assembly Commission to explain that the Audit Committee scrutiny of SRs isn't currently permissible under standing orders, and suggest that consider whether or not TEO committee might be an appropriate committee to carry this out if required. And the Assembly Commission have said it may not be that the power even needs to be used. So that's what the proposal is now for next steps.
Okay, thank you for that. Any questions for the clerk on what you've heard so far? Okay. So I have to seek agreement then from the committee that we write to the Assembly Commission to advise that the Assembly Standing Orders does not permit the Audit Committee as the standing committee to scrutinise statutory rules. The correspondence could also suggest that the Assembly Commission considers whether the TEO committee might, if necessary, undertake this scrutiny role, given it has previously scrutinised the Salaries Public Service Ombudsman's Order Northern Ireland 2020. Are we content with that course of action? Agreed? Okay, thank you. So, correspondence, just refer you to correspondence at page 19 from the Public Accounts Committee on the NIAO estimate. Are you content to note that correspondence? Content? Thank you. Refer you to the item of correspondence at page 20 in the pack from the NIAO on the Local Government Auditor, LGA. And I advise you that the previous Audit Committee had set out a recommendation in its review of the governance and accountability arrangements of the Northern Ireland Audit Office and the Northern Ireland Public Service Ombudsman that there is a single auditor for the public sector to enhance the effectiveness of the audit function, and that primary legislation is enacted to make provision for a single auditor. As primary legislation has not been brought forward, the NIAO will progress with the designation of a successor LGA in line with the provisions of the extant legislation. NIAO has, however, stated that its approach to the appointment will have regard to the fact that the legislation could be brought to the Assembly in the future. So, are members content to note that correspondence?
Yeah, Chair, just within the letter, it refers to the CNAG speaking to the Permanent Secretary of the Accounting Officer of DFC, and was going to run this competition by internal trawl. Just in the interest of openness and transparency, I just wondered, is that part of the governance review? Is that what's always happened? Because the local government auditor is such a public profile and independent role. I would have thought that would have been openly advertised. So just wondered, is that part of the governance review? Or
the committee could write. I can look back over that review, and we could also seek the views of NIAO on that and how it's run that in the past. I would have to look into that, Chair.
Okay, we leave that one with us. We'll come back to you on that one.
Chair, it's just a very important public position there, so I just wondered.
Anyone else want to make any comments on that? John?
Chair, yeah, and excuse me, thank you, yeah. Broad agreement with what Diane said there. I've in other bodies, one that you and I sat on, for example, questioned the practice of continual, and I don't know that this one is continual, but continual internal promotions, which is not open and transparent and certainly not inclusive and given opportunities to all. I would really like to see more about the rationale behind this. Now, I understand it may be something to do with the processes that are at play here and waiting for the appropriate legislation, but nevertheless, given the salary scales and the gravitas of the appointment, I think we should have a bit more information on that. And maybe if we could also glean whether or not it's a one-off example or whether it's common practice for senior positions in the NIAO.
Anyone else want to comment? No, I think that those are reasonable points, and I think that the clerk maybe could explore further there. But yeah, I think for a comment on that.
I'm not aware that it came up as part of the review, but we can check that, but certainly ask an IAO on the specifics around the internal.
Yeah.
It may be something in the legislation that allows that.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I think it would be useful that we do follow that through. Okay, so other than that, then we're content with the correspondence, but they kind of refer you then to the item of correspondence at page 3 of the table pack from the Committee for Finance, advising that the Department has formally commissioned returns from departments in respect of the June monitoring round. Are we content to note the correspondence, and the clerk will liaise with the NIAO, NIPSO and NIAC to request sight of their June monitoring returns. I also refer you to correspondence from the Assembly Business Office at page 9 of the table pack, advising that the Northern Ireland Social Care Council annual reports and accounts 1st April 23 to the 31st of March 24 has been laid in the Business Office. Should members wish to view a copy of the report, they can request it from the Committee Secretariat. Okay, we'll move in then to the closed session.
Committee Room 21. Sound. Committee Room 21. Sound.